In a major milestone for police reform in Albuquerque, the U.S. Department of Justice has filed a motion to end its oversight of the Albuquerque Police Department nearly a decade after a dissent decree was imposed. Last week, 209 people were arrested in southern New Mexico for allegedly crossing into the United States through a newly designated military zone. The estimated cost of maintaining and modernizing the U.S. nuclear arsenal has surged to $946 billion over the next decade, which is a 25% increase. And Economic Development Week is underway, spotlighting the work of professionals and programs focused on building stronger communities through economic opportunity. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. Today is Monday, May 12th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at the weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
In a major milestone for police reform in Albuquerque, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a motion to end its oversight of the Albuquerque Police Department. Nearly a decade after a dissent decree was imposed in response to a pattern of excessive and unconstitutional use of force. The court-approved settlement, or CASA, established in 2014, came after widespread concern over deadly and excessive force by APD officers. On Saturday, Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller and Police Chief Harold Medina announced the DOJ's decision as a, quote, landmark occasion, marking what they hope is the beginning of a new era for APD. While federal Judge James Browning must still approve the motion to formally dismiss the CASA, the DOJ stated that APD has now achieved full and sustained compliance, significantly reducing use of force incidences and adhering to new accountability standards. Chief Medina credited the transformation to the officers themselves, saying the department had undergone a cultural shift. He and Keller emphasized that reform doesn't stop here, acknowledging that issues and misconduct will continue to arise, but that systems are now in place to hold individuals accountable. To ensure continued progress, the city has now established its own monitoring team made up of former judges and law enforcement experts. This team, which is modeled after the DOJ's Oversight group, is intended to remain in place as long as the current administration continues. Medina said he was tasked with reducing crime and complying with reforms when he became chief. With crime trending downward and reform benchmark met, he noted that progress came only after the department was willing to admit past mistakes and commit to doing better. Last week, 209 people were arrested in southern New Mexico for allegedly crossing into the U.S. through a newly designated military zone along the border. These arrests came under a controversial enforcement tactic that adds 2 misdemeanor charges, trespassing on restricted military land and violating a defense property regulation, on top of traditional illegal entry charges. If convicted, the new charges could mean up to 18 additional months of incarceration. This shift in legal strategy follows an April 15th decision by the U.S. Department of Interior to transfer over 109,000 acres of borderland to the U.S. Army, allowing it to create the, quote, New Mexico National Defense Area. Since then, around 300 cases involving these new charges have been filed. Critics, including federal public defender Amanda Skinner, argue the charges lack probable cause and amount to unfair targeting of undocumented immigrants. She points out that signage warnings of restricted access is poorly placed, often invisible from the 20-foot border wall, and is spaced too far apart to effectively notify border crossers. Her office is pushing for the charges to be dismissed, citing the lack of evidence and defendants knowingly trespassed. Judge Gregory Warmuth has asked both sides to present what proof is necessary for a conviction under these new charges. The government insists that knowledge of entering military land isn't required, just awareness that crossing the border itself is illegal. The legal battle now hinges on whether the government's argument can withstand scrutiny and how the court interprets intent and notice in the context of criminal trespass on federal military property. The estimated cost of maintaining and modernizing the U.S. nuclear arsenal has surged to $946 billion over the next decade, which is a 25% increase from the Congressional Budget Office's 2023 estimate of $756 billion. That translates to about $95 billion per year, much of which is driven by modernization efforts, including upgraded warhead production, delivery systems, and command and control infrastructure. Key drivers of the rising costs also include building new facilities to manufacture plutonium pits, the core components components of nuclear warheads at sites like Los Alamos National Laboratory here in New Mexico. Those efforts are part of 7 warhead modernization programs led by the Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration. Higher safety standards, more sophisticated technology, and updated environmental protections have made plutonium production more expensive than in decades past. Roughly $65 billion of the cost increase reflects the shifting timeframe of the estimate, which now includes more costly development and production phases further into the modernization process. The Department of Defense accounts for most of the projected expenses, particularly through programs like the Sentinel Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Replacement, which has already triggered a budget review due to overrun costs. Critics, including anti-nuclear advocacy groups, argue the rising price tag should prompt Congress to reconsider or cancel programs like the Sentinel, warning of enormous opportunity costs. Greg Mello of the Los Alamos Study Group called the cost growth since 2015 from $348 billion to nearly $1 trillion, quote, staggering and unsustainable in the face of other national priorities. The CBO notes that future costs could rise even higher, particularly if priorities from the Trump administration continue to drive expansion. Congress will now soon face major decisions about how much nuclear modernization plans to pursue and whether the current trajectory can be justified. And Economic Development Week is now underway, spotlighting the work of professionals and programs focused on building stronger communities through economic opportunity, not just through infrastructure. The initiative is being led by the International Economic Development Council and has been held annually since 2016. The week offers a chance to reflect on how economic policy, infrastructure, education, and global outreach intersect to create opportunity here at home. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today we'll have sunny skies with a high near 89, and as for this evening, mostly cloudy with a low around 59. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. That's the Leading News. I'm Gino Gutierrez. We'll be back tomorrow.